Rob, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here today. So I want to ask you some questions about agentic AI, AI in general, transformations, etc.
All the top buzzwords.
All the top
Okay.
buzzwords. Every buzzword. I love a buzzword.
Does anyone have a bingo card
Yeah,
here?
exactly. We'll do that too. So let's start at the top. What is going on in the world of AI? Like, where do you see the market right now?
Yeah, I'd say lots of people were thinking the hype cycle of Gen AI, it was going to dip into the trough of disillusionment. And actually the models have gotten so much better, compute's gotten so much better, costs has come down, that we're actually getting into a new peak, if you will, on that hype cycle around agentic, which to me is really, how do we get the system to do tasks that humans would normally do?
Yeah.
As opposed to just helping with the interface or answering questions, can it actually do work? So the kind of the rise of digital labor.
Yeah, that's great. And so as people are thinking about agentic, it's complicated, it's process oriented. So like how does that fit in an organization? Like how do you kind of think about that?
I guess you start with the agent, right? Which is agency and trying to get software to do the whole task.
Yeah.
But if we think about that, the way you've already probably been using ChatGPT and things is to tell it, okay, you are a lawyer and this is what I care about.
Yeah.
And that's really the most simplest definition of the agentic piece is starting to standardize some of those roles and reuse them more intentionally.
Yeah.
And I think we're in this transition of right now we're doing that with just a few roles and fairly fixed workflows where the agents get to do some of the tasks, and then we give them, we call it tools usually, but they can maybe do a web search or they can call through a database or something to that effect. And they can do those steps and try to figure out like how to answer their part of the problem.
Yeah.
But we're still putting that on pretty tight rails overall, but that's going to keep growing and going broader and broader and more agents and more control over the problems that they tackle.
Yeah. So you have an agent that can do a task. When you have multiple agents, it starts to become agentic design.
Yep.
So now you've got multiple agents within a process. But then we also hear about autonomous AI. Like where is the journey there? Like what's that path?
Exactly. And this is where the language is important, but also less specific than you might like. So there's agents, for example, that have the ability to do something like control a user interface, control a web browser. And by that, we actually mean like literally, execute commands to the web browser just like a human, move the mouse just like a human, fill in the form just like a human. And that's one form of agent. And then I also kind of described that other type, which is more the role-based agent.
Yep.
And those things kind of come together with the LLM to say, here's the problem, here's how you can solve it, and now how are you going to solve it, right?
Yep.
As opposed to saying you're going to do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you just say, the tools at your fingertips are a spreadsheet and a web browser.
Yep.
Solve the problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of comes. So autonomous AI is trying to go further and say, once we have enough agents and understand certain problems, can the system complete the entire task entirely by itself?
Yeah.
And why I say that's confusing is what level of task are we talking about, right? So if I am thinking about the complexity of maybe doing a statement of work,
Yep.
right? You're probably going to talk to the client, agree on scope, maybe quantity, et cetera. And then you're going to go back and put it into some sort of standardized template and then work with legal, have them review it. Their client's probably going to have their legal review it. Then there's going to be red lines back and forth. Well, you can save a ton of time by automating a lot of those steps and even creating that kind of counter agent kind of concept of like, when you talk to your lawyer, they're only representing you and they take it from the perspective on the contract of representing you.
Yep.
We can easily create a lawyer to represent what we think your client is going to want and can be a little bit more counter and give us a bit more input. So now we can move much quicker. We can create that draft quicker. We can create the template quicker. We can create the terms quicker and come to a remediation quicker, but still let the final decision be in the humans. That's not autonomous AI. That's just agentic AI.
Yeah.
Now, the day will come when maybe then their lawyer AI will talk to our lawyer AI and it'll all be autonomous. But I guess where are those opportunities to go fully autonomous? There's interesting ones. We were talking about agents that can actually do interviews for you as a big one, call center agents that could actually support the entire conversation with the end customer, including checking their balance, maybe doing troubleshooting. And those are pretty interesting autonomous AI. The key is, how can we control the risks around that in a way that we feel comfortable with, and when to actually put it back into a human's hands.
I worry about the bill I'm going to get from an autonomous lawyer AI that's engaging with another lawyer AI. So
How many rounds of revisions did they do? 4 million.
Yes, exactly. So that's pretty edge case, right? I mean, most people are not anywhere near, agentic AI, let alone autonomous AI. And so AI is a broad topic. Generative AI and agentic is the latest, greatest part of that. But AI is built up of machine learning and a lot of other components. Won't go through them all right now. So can you take us through a kind of a case study recently that has used AI broadly, including agentic AI, that you're kind of excited by?
Yeah. Sometimes I get excited by things that maybe are a little boring to others in my line of work. But one that we had recently is for a client. They have a fairly complex set of products, ones that we all maybe consume, right, in the CPG space. And you think about the complexity of how their products are sold in different countries, and different products may fit different categories based on specific regulations in those countries. And of course, what they really want to know is what's selling where and how are we doing compared to our competitors, right? And so the traditional model there is, you have all your SAP systems and all your, data systems, and you know who you sold it to in terms of distributors. And then you go to third-party data providers and you buy that data about the market data that maybe they're partnered with supermarkets or other kind of distributors, and they get more broad set of data about that market. And then you have to try to find a way to merge it all together and figure it out.
Yeah.
And what you find is it's really hard to get it all harmonized in a way you can actually look at it. And so that tends to be a really large ongoing effort. And then the granularity of the data might be different. You know exactly what you sold and what size and what quantity with what packaging, and you don't know that from that third-party data. But you could probably make some educated guess as a human, but we've never been able to fill in those guesses with technology before.
Right.
And so what we've been able to do for this client, and actually we're talking to a number of other clients, is...
And it's expensive and slow, right?
Yes.
Getting the third-party data, and is it up to date?
That's
and
right.
What's the frequency? It's not real time for sure, et cetera, right?
Oh, yeah. It's slow. It's ongoing human resources, like 10 to 15 of them, very expensive data contracts, requesting customization from those third parties to format the data in a way you can use it easier, and then expensive software to make it happen. And typically, 2 weeks to a month behind the data, at least.
By the time you get the insights, you're back in the cycle again.
That's right.
And it's just this perpetual cycle.
Exactly. So what we did is said, what happens if we kind of challenge all of that? And we say, no, just get us whatever data you can, which again, the more granular, the better still, but we can then logically fill in the gaps on that third-party data. We can very easily map a ton of formats because we recognize the data through AI, and then bring that in and match it to our existing data and use those same techniques on our own systems and create that harmonized data. And what we were able to show is we were able to increase the accuracy to 97%.
It's crazy.
And actually be filling in all those gaps. So instead of it being like a 10 to 15% gap, got it to 3%. And now it's running in like 24 hours or less. Fraction of the cost. And we're not using any sort of enterprise, custom software. We're not customizing those feeds. So now we can buy the data cheaper. And so now it's faster, it's better, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, that's great. And as you think about that, we hear a lot about AI-ready data, right? And get your data foundations right, ready for AI. However, there's a counter argument there that says, well, don't wait for the data to be ready for AI. Use AI to help get the data ready, right? And you're talking about that as well, right, in this process.
Absolutely. I think it's really, to me, use case led, right? Because if I say get your data ready for AI, data's got to be good enough for the job at hand, right? But to get all your data ready, what does that mean? Particularly as we talk about unstructured data. Do you have audio data, video data, transcript data, PowerPoints, Word documents, et cetera? What does it mean to get it ready? Do we have to put it all into a hierarchy and metadata and extract it? And well, no, right? We don't. We need to try to understand what use cases and start to apply that. Now, at the same time, there's power in creating tools that learn how to harness that data. So for one client, as an example, we created the concept of an intelligent catalog as backing a bunch of the different things that they're doing. And so whether it's a search on their website or it's RFPs that they're responding to or even creating marketing content, it's all using this dynamic intelligent content catalog that has this ability to enrich itself. So you have sources of data about locations and about reviews and user-generated content that when a query comes in that isn't in the catalog already, it goes through some toxicity detection and some guardrails, and then looks in the raw data, if you will, to see if it can extract that and add it to the catalog.
Yeah.
And so you're now on this long tail of continually enriching your new, properly structured, ready for AI content catalog.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to do any of that upfront lifting and trying to get your data AI ready.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a slow burn, right? I mean, the idea of having, again, if we think about agentic design, if you've got like a governance agent that's doing that job all the time, working with another agent that is collecting data, you're not going to get the pushback that you can get from humans sometimes, right? In the process of, there's no point in filling that field out. It just takes time and there's no value in it, right? That's all going to happen behind the scenes in the future.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Machines don't get tired.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Don't push back.
Yeah.
We hope. The other thing that we're thinking about is how do we reduce cost to serve? How do we make things more repeatable? Do you want to talk a little bit about BlendX and kind of why we came up with this concept of BlendX, what it is, why people should care about it?
We're all thinking through a big mindset change to think about agentic systems, right? And it's a new frontier for building software. And so what we wanted to do is make sure we could capture those learnings and make them available to our clients much quicker. Yep. So what it is a set of frameworks, off-the-shelf, open source, proprietary, as well as some of our special code that we've put together to build an agentic application.
Right. So it's a suite of accelerators, suite of frameworks.
That's right.
That have come together on a lot of standard products. Not a product, so to speak. Right. It's just a way to get out there quicker.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're sitting on the shoulders of giants, right? Yep. So sit on top of our snowflakes. We can port it to others over time, but right now it's Snowflake.
Yep.
It's leveraging Cortex. It's leveraging Snowpark, and it's running Crew.ai as an example for an agentic framework. It can use any LLM, but it can specifically use the LLMs that are in Snowflake.
Yep.
And so it's giving us the display layer, the integration layer, and we're standardizing logging and tuning and agent control system, et cetera, all kind of goes into that to make it faster for clients to kind of get to that, and they don't have to make the same mistakes that we had to learn the hard way the first time.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the team, right? Talk a little bit about how are we building the team, how are we building the culture, how are we making sure we've got the right skills, to keep pace, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a joke one of our co-founders uses of, what eyes look like after 10 cups of coffee versus, partying all night versus being hungover versus trying to keep up with the AI news. But, our team and the profile that we're hiring for is the people that are most interested in that. Yep. And what we find is we actually do still have to challenge our own team to like how could you go faster? Like, how could you go back to first principles and say, like, how could you solve this problem? And, what would make your day go better? Could you spend more time? Could you spend less time in meetings? Could you spend more time coding? Could you spend less time coding and more time designing? Yeah. More time talking to clients and challenging them? And so we have got a lot of different forums. One, of course, BlendX is a key strategy so they can continue to be educated in what we're doing and how we're doing it. Yep. Even if a certain client's not going to use BlendX, which is totally fine, at least the team has learned from that. Yep. Continually doing kind of different, we did April, where everyone was encouraged to do vibe coding and try creating an app a day. We do regular sessions of sharing every Monday latest AI news. We have an AI community where we're constantly posting articles and just different Q&A kind of situations. So it's a huge effort. Yeah. And what it's really done also is it's really continuing to erode the lines between what's data science and what's data engineering and what's full stack engineering and what's even project management and product management, and trying to blur that into this world where, the computing ecosystem is just ready to respond to you. Yeah. And that's really lofty and a long ways away, but that's where we're going, where you can literally start to talk and say, I need an application to do this. And 1 minute later, you have an application that does that. Now, is it trustworthy? Is it ready for production? No, not yet, right? But that's kind of the future, and we're trying to get people ready for that.
Yeah, great.